Systems Mastermind. We're going to be talking about today about systems, those compensation systems that you may have installed and you haven't installed. This is still going to be important for you, discussion for you, because it can show the benefits of those systems and what it can bring for you after you've automated. So a lot of good discussion here. So I want to introduce you to everybody on the line here to start with. And so first of all, we have Howard Neiswitz is a long colleague of mine, and we work together at Barclays. And Howard is a member of CompTeam now. He's a managing consultant, does a lot of good work there. And then we have Heather Hormel, which is our systems expert. And so she leads a lot of the implementation of these compensation systems for a lot of our clients. And so, she's integral in what we do. And then, of course, we have our guests today. And Sachin and Sanim, you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Yes, thank you so much, Sam, and thank you so much, Heather, Howard, for this opportunity. We are really very delighted to be here, me and Sachin, and thanks everyone who are together with us today. My name is C&amp. I'm a hardcore HR professional. I have 20 years of HR experience in different industries and geographies. And right now I'm leading an HR function of one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in Turkey, Istanbul. And my other passion is technology, HR technology. So I'm also one of the founders of Compport, which is a total rewards software. And together, it's like a baby growing right now. And with Sachin, we are doing our best with all our good efforts and intents. Sachin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I think our experience actually go hands in hands. So myself also spent about 18 years in HR, specifically focusing on comp and ben. I also worked with telecom, pharmaceutical industries, in the regional role, in the national roles, and so on. I think the whole journey of Compport actually started from our pain point itself. When we went through those Excel files over and over and over again in those 18 years, I think it gave us a point that there is a need in this area to automate. Why not actually? I think there are many areas of human resources like talent, recruitment, performance management. Everything was actually bombarded with so many softwares. But compensation is one area where we didn't see actually much of progress happening. And that's why we thought, why not actually deep dive into it? And we have this entrepreneurship, bug, which actually bitten us 2 years back. And we got into building Compport. And we are successful, and we hope to make it big in the time to come as well.
That's great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've noticed that in the industry, it's just gone through a lot of development over the years. I mean, when we were looking at these systems 10, 15 years ago, I mean, they were mostly for really large companies, and they needed a ton of not even configuration, more customization to really work at different companies. It was super expensive. And as more options have come out, I mean, there's a lot more selection, and there's a tool for every company now, and based on how they operate and so forth. So it's good that there's a lot of variety in the marketplace, and much more agile tools that can be configured quite easily. So thank you for coming on and sharing your experience. So Sachin, you want to go ahead and bring up your screen? I know you have a presentation to share with us today. And so everybody on what we're going to do is we're going to have a basic discussion about how we can use and leverage these systems in the workplace, and once we get them installed, how can we even get more benefit from them. And then at the end of this our discussion that we have today, Sachin is going to take us through a quick view of Compport, a little quick demo here at the end, and to wrap things up. So let's go with what you have here. Now that you've automated, what's next?
Yes. So I'll probably let Sanam start these slides,
Okay.
and then Sanam, just tell me how to guide you through whenever you want to move.
Okay,
Go
then
ahead.
let's start the slides, please, Sachin. Now that you have automated, what is next? I think the very first thing to do is to go one step back and to see why have you automated your processes. Finding out the real reason is the key to plan the next steps. So according to our experience, organizations have different reasons for automation. And one of the very common one is to remove the dependency on individuals. So organizations, they want to automate, they want to systematically manage everything instead of depending on individuals. And those individuals, most of the time, they are the masters of spreadsheets, those complex formulas. And when that individual leaves the organization, the corporate memory, all the records, all those efforts, formulas, they also leave the company. So that's one of the reasons. On the other hand, running the process manually through some spreadsheets, it may cause some expensive data entry errors. And sometimes it may lead to compliance issues, and those issues can be really risky for many organizations in any geography today. And most of the companies, they want full transparency about the past, about the current, and they want to predict the future. And automation provides the sufficient level of transparency.
I'll probably pitching in some with some examples. So we have we have actually came across some organization which are like 28,000 strong organization, and they actually check each of the letters manually one by one so far. Can you believe that? I mean,
Yeah,
they
I
don't
know.
actually, even if they use Excel for many years, they don't trust Excel and work and mail merge sort of functionalities. They do manual things.
Yeah, I know. Howard and I were talking about that in our history. We were doing part of that checking ourselves, and just going through every letter, and then you go through the whole process. You're just about done, and then somebody comes out of the woodwork and says, "Oh, wait, we got to change this word out of," and you're printing out another 8,000 letters. So yeah, it's the old days was crazy.
Absolutely.
Crazy.
I also clearly identify with the issue of being dependent on individuals. So even if you have a homegrown system, those few critical people that really know the ins and outs of it. We used to pray that they come in the next day, because without them, no one would be able to figure out what they developed.
Exactly. That was my nightmare as well. My fear, Howard. I agree with you. And even actually, it's not the old days also. Even today, very large organizations, they, as Sachin mentioned, they run everything, most of the thing manually. They run very complex processes manually, and so that automation really helps their pain. Manually managing the process also cause some difficulties in scaling the operations, and that's why some organizations, they don't cascade the process to whole managers or every levels in the company. They limit up to certain levels, and HR manage the process without involving the managers. That's another problem. And when HR doesn't involve or include or empower managers, they don't feel accountable. They don't feel the ownership. And when they don't feel the ownership and accountability, they're not able to own the outcomes, own the results, and explain valid to their employees. And that causes dissatisfaction, disengagement with the employees. So that's another reason.
And we used to crack a joke, at the increment time that once your letters are released, either C&B people go on a holiday for a couple of days, or next day they come with a helmet. Probably they'll be for the employees.
Yeah, I think so. In our experience, we noticed that somehow among all the HR processes, total rewards processes are almost the last one in the queue for automation. So that's also an interesting observation because, in my opinion, this is an area that companies spend a lot of money. It's your wage and salaries budget, and there are lots of dollars that you are investing there. And managing this big budgets filled with manual processes, I think that's definitely a disadvantage that needs to be solved, in my opinion. Yeah, but that's the reality. It's not the early one.
I agree. You know, it amazes me that, you know, companies, you know, probably their biggest expense is their compensation line, and to subject it to the kind of risk that is associated with the use of spreadsheets is just insane. But here we are.
Yeah, I think, Howard, that actually comes with a fear as well. I think it's not about that they don't want to focus in, but it looks like that they want to protect the information in their own hand. And they believe that if we do automation, it will go out and some more people will be able to access it. I think that's a fear basically which they have. And that's why it becomes the last priority for them.
Right.
Yeah. I think so. And my favorite reason is, I think, this last one. There are some organizations who wants to manage total rewards in a more strategic, smart, and engaging way. So they don't see compensation management as an administrative or operational process, but they see it as and they position this as a more value-adding and strategic process. And in that sense, automation enables them to do and to deliver more and better results.
Right.
And of course, there may be some other reasons. So the first thing first is you need to know your reasons well in order to start your journey. So that's what we can advise all our audience here. And in the next slide.
So really quick on that point though, and you're saying knowing, I mean, a lot of, you started off by saying that know the reasons, you have to take a step back, know the reason why you did this in the first place. And I think that's a very important message, because a lot of times as we get these systems in place, we go through this process of getting the system in place, and then we often forget why we, you know, what was their major intention. Is there any what are the most dominant reasons why companies are putting these in place and using this afterwards? Is it are you seeing more in the security area, or is it more in delivering a better experience for managers? What is the top few things that you're seeing?
Yeah. Sachin, I think you have some examples that you can share here.
Yeah, I think if I look at first of the reason is the scale. I think scale is important, and larger organization, of course, they've been struggling for many years, and it also becomes inevitable that when the trend actually goes in one direction, when the air flows in one direction, a lot of companies actually fall into that particular situation as well. And when they see that, okay, you know, the whole world is actually going automation, we are automating our processes outwardly for our clients, for our customers, and so on. Why not actually internalize this whole automation journey for HR processes? Now, if you take a company which has core functions, you know, sales, marketing, in pharmaceutical, let's say medical, in manufacturing, let's say, you know, some other production, quality assurance, those are always a focus, always have been the focus for the last 2 decades since the automation journey started. But if you look at the whole enterprise process model, the HR, finance also comes into little ahead of HR somehow. We really don't know why HR actually falls at the last 10, but it has been the journey that most of the core processes followed by some of the middle level processes, and then human resources, finance comes at the last stage. I mean, that has been the journey. But I think larger scale is one. New companies, actually surprisingly, very small and very new companies are actually doing the right thing. You know, they are actually trying to set up this automation from the beginning itself. And I think this is going to help them a lot in the future, which is great. 500 strong company, 250 strong company, it's so easy for them to transform their manual process into an automation, which is great. But once they scale up, and you know that how companies can scale up these days. A small company becomes a billion-dollar company just like that in few years. These trends which we see going on in the market.
Mm-hmm. And then real quick, a question, when do you see companies thinking about this type of tool? How many employee size? Is there a typical employee size you see where they're starting to come into these issues and wanting to get a tool in place?
I think minimum is about 250. Sometime, it depends on the country to country.
Yeah.
If you go to Southeast Asia side versus the European side, American side, I think size of the company matters a lot. Some companies with 250 strong strength, they think that it's complex now, and then they want to move forward. In some other regions, even the couple of thousand employees headcount is not a big deal for them. They can continue to manage. It also comes out from the return on the investment kind of proposition. Some companies feel that my return on investment only starts reaping benefits once I go a little bigger and I spend a couple of $100,000 to make this automated.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, and also we recently observed that startup companies, they're also so much, they have the appetite to for digitization, and especially for pieces like long-term incentives. So they have this appetite, and their numbers can be below 100. So
Absolutely.
for different needs, they have the appetite as well.
Mm.
Okay, so we were talking about reasons, and I'm also following the chat board, and I'm noticing some reasons from our audience, and thank you for sharing your own experience. And I believe a sound reason is a byproduct of a clear vision. So before you start your journey, before you find your reason, you need to have a clear vision. You need to visualize the desired state that you want to build in your organization. And so here we want to share some examples of desired states. And throughout this session, we will be talking one by one about each of them. So the very first vision, the desired state that organizations want to build is transforming C&B managers to total rewards as strategies. So making the job itself more strategic instead of operational or administrative. So that's one thing. The other thing is, it's not just the compensation. It's not the salary, managing the salary increment, or it's not managing the bonus or sales incentive. It's about a total, managing the whole total rewards and building the attractive value proposition around total rewards in the organization. So that's another vision that I can share.
I think total reward philosophy, it has been running in circles for the last, 2 decades now. I think people have been talking about it. Companies should reflect the value. There's only a fraction of organization we came across in multiple regions, multiple areas, who actually reflect the real value of total rewards which companies do for employees. And I think it's high time that it has to change, and automation can help. Automation can definitely help in doing that, because collecting the information around benefits, reflecting it in the way you want to do reflected, collecting information for the past historical trends, how the company has actually invested in employee year on year, versus there are some tools which are even reflecting the future value, that what possibly can be your future compensation in the couple of years. Those are the interesting facts which actually can be done through automation. So this is an important area which is definitely becoming a very clear vision for many organizations.
That's fascinating. I'd like to hear more about that. Yeah, to your point, I mean, we talked years ago about HR becoming more strategist, and it's high time that comp and benefit and reward professionals do the same. And because basically the way that we work is changing a lot, right? I mean, it's not like we're in a hierarchical, 1950s style type company anymore. We're much more agile. We're moving around. We're on project teams. There's a lot of different factors that are attributing to compensation through competencies and performance. So we need to be more strategists than ever before.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Fully agree. And Sachin, can you move to next slide? I want to share something as per Sam's comment. Typically, when it is a salary increment time or bonus time, CMP manager, they focus on managing their budgets or simulating their budgets, or they focus on creating some grids, increment grids. They think about how to create the salary increment letters, how to distribute those letters. Those are really not, I mean, value-adding things. Right now, with the automation, the focus is shifting towards how can I improve value add of my department? I'm managing the total rewards budget of the company, and how can I create better value out of it? So when I check my organization, where are my gaps? And what will be the right strategy to address those gaps? And very recently, what we observe in the market, most of the CMP and some of the CMP people, they focus on pay equity, equal pay between different genders, for example, different levels. So they build some strategies to identify gaps and manage those gaps. And they have diversity inclusion agenda. So they link the dots together, and automation help them. Or using an a tool, utilizing the automation, total reward strategies, they can simulate different strategies, and they can check the opportunity cost of choosing one strategy over the other. They can play with the elements of total rewards and find ways of creating a greater impact. And the other critical thing is building and improving the fairness perception in the organization. One of the biggest problems that organizations face is the fairness perception about the pay. Yeah. So that's why how to improve that is a big question. So total reward strategies, they focus on that. And empowering the managers as rewards advisors, empowering them in the process and making them more accountable. That's an important task for total reward strategies.
Right, you
and,
did. Oh, I'm sorry, just a question. You did, I think Sachin was talking about one of the goals is to have more transparency through these yeah. systems. Is there a way to show more transparency and develop trust through these systems once you have them implemented?
Yeah, I think so. I think the beauty of the automation is that once you have the data in place, the first thing which you can do is you can run any amount of analytics. You can go as deep as you want. The second thing which you can do is on a click of a button, you can share the information as much as you want to share with different stakeholders, be it your leaders, be it your managers, be it your functional managers, whosoever you want to do. And the third thing is, intelligence of analytics is becoming more and more prevalent than before. If you look at some of the technologies which are actually building the analytical tools like AI or machine learning, they are actually going into the stage where you will actually get a proactive information to the managers, to the leaders, before they even come to know that there is a problem which is going to happen in their organization. Now, how about that you actually are predicting the future, taking the decision proactively and correcting it before it even happens. That's like a beauty, Yeah. Of course, the AI machine learning is going slow, especially again, reason being that the HR, finance, these are like not the focus area. Of course, the business area is much more focused in term, but it will come through. It will come through. But people have to start realizing, this kind of dream is not very far. The second advice for me, for the users of the automation tool is that push the vendors. When you have taken an automation tool, if you push the vendor with your vision, with your dream, that what you're looking forward to in analytics, they will be able to build it. Because every automation tool wants to evolve. There's no tool which doesn't want to evolve further. So I think those are my inputs at this stage.
This is my biggest concern for the compensation profession. I mean, I've been in it pretty much my whole professional career, and the fact that we're still holding on to these out-of-date manual processes and spending hundreds of hours on administration, it's not allowing us to evolve to the role of the total reward strategist. So we need to let go. We need to make the business case as to why we need to automate. And that needs to be kind of front and center before we find ourselves just, being out of date and out of touch and not adding value.
Absolutely.
And then Howard, and maybe Suren and Sharon, could you just mention a little bit more of like, what are those differences between what we've seen as the compensation and benefit managers to where we're moving with the total reward managers? How does that role change, or is it still, can you speak a little to that? Is there a difference?
That'd be interesting. Is there, I mean, how do you exactly, I mean, how are these roles evolving to be more strategic?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sanam, you want to give it a try?
Yeah, I think so. And Sachin, you can maybe support me with some real life examples. And before automation, it's more about, I'm sorry to say this, please allow me, forgive me. It's more about data crunching, working with spreadsheets, working with formulas, checking the data, doing simulations, and rechecking the data, rechecking the bottom line impact. And for a size of, let's say, 1,000 employees organization, this simulation, number cracking, data crunching, everything takes almost 1 month. So it's a big effort. And then C&B manager, as we all know, they present the simulations, the scenarios to the top management. They got the approval, and then they start preparing the final spreadsheets. And then they send those spreadsheets to the managers. They meet with the managers if they are cascading the process to their managers. And then there happens a huge meeting traffic. Okay, and a lot of back and forth. And C&B manager, of course, with some support, manage this traffic. So that's also very time consuming, and it can take up to 1.5 month to 2 month periods. And once all the spreadsheets are back, this time C&B manager consolidates all those spreadsheets, check the figures, check the budgets, fix if there are any errors, and then go seek for approval from the top management. And then it's still not the end of the story. Then they get prepared for the communication piece, and that communication usually happens either through papers or emails. And email is the best scenario. And it takes also a lot of effort, and it brings a lot of administrative tasks to whole team. And from beginning to end, it takes almost 3 months. And most of those 3 months is occupied with administrative tasks and logistics. So, and we don't see, and we believe that team, a C&B team, can create better value. Instead of focusing all those administrative things, they can focus on strategy. They can utilize the tool to manage the operation, to manage all the administrative tasks.
Right. Yes. In my experience, I mean, the compensation process can be a lot, very administrative, like you said. And where the strategy comes is as experts, we should know about the different pay pressures across the globe and the places where our clients, our organization operates, and the typical demographics that we have in those organizations, and understanding where to invest with our limited budget. I mean, every company has a limited budget to spend. How do we spend that in the best way possible to ensure that we're most competitive and focus on the right areas of the company that need it to grow and to retain and attract and reward our personnel.
Yeah, and once you're free from spending hours on ensuring the integrity of the spreadsheets because you have an automated process in place, you now have time to kind of really dig deep and really look at the data and understand it and translate it for manager and talk about the trends that you're seeing and talk about how the data looks relative to the market and point out potential areas of risk. But if you're stuck in spreadsheets, which so many companies are, you barely have time to raise your head, just ensuring that the process is sound and that there's no error that's going to cost the firm, potentially, hundreds or more in dollars if there's a cell error or formula error.
Yeah.
And I think, just to add on to everybody's comment here, if I look at from the helicopter view on an organization, all right, I will give an analogy first and then probably try to connect back the dot. An analogy is if an individual is earning $1 million in a year, that person actually goes back at home and plans a strategy that how I'm going to spend this $1 million. I'm going to run some operations. I'm going to buy some gold. I'm going to invest some property. I'm going to invest some assets and so on. Now, if you apply the same strategy that you are investing in different areas of your personal money and trying to get the best outcome, best future earning out of that particular investment, why not apply the same strategy on the company as well? And comp and ben managers, if they have to become real strategists, they have to look at the whole company spending on the compensation from that angle. I have a $10 million budget for my 5,000 people employees. How exactly I can spend where I can get the most benefit of spending different. If I have to reduce certain benefits, increase in something else, introduce new benefits, what are the best practices companies are actually getting benefit out of? How can I introduce them? How can I actually sell those benefits to the management and stakeholders to introduce? The first point is selling itself. And to sell that, you have to build a very solid value proposition. If I go and tell my management that let's introduce a PSP, a performance share plan for my middle to senior management people, how exactly I'm going to do that? Because budget is limited. But I have to tell them that I'm going to squeeze some budget out of this particular kitty and trying to put it in a different kitty of a benefit and or the particular compensation element. And that's how I see that there's more benefit or returns on investment in terms of retention, in terms of performance improvement, in terms of productivity of the company, and hence, of course, it will actually drill down into actually a dollar value straight away for the company. So it's not like a very remote linkage as well. If comp and ben people wants, they can very clearly show what's the dollar value I'm going to earn by reshifting my budget into different element of the compensation. That's called real strategy for me, for a rewards person.
Agree.
And Howard, you also mentioned about the saved time. So, for example, for 1,000 employee organization, a typical salary increment process from beginning to end, it takes like 2 to 3 months. So with automation, you can manage everything from A to Z in 2 weeks. So can you imagine the time that you save? And in that time, in that saved time, what else you can do, how you can contribute to the organization. There are lots of, I think, opportunities for the CMB teams or total rewards team to contribute.
And part of this strategic focus again from the larger context is save time not only for the CNB team but also for the leaders and managers, which you can do through automation. Imagine those long meetings where you have to explain the Excel formula, how this number is actually arrived at. Compared to you are now giving a very beautiful screen to the managers where they can self-learn, how this number is being arrived at. Also communication, grievances, once you not do the total reward activity and do not use the automation, you fall into a trap of a lot of communication back and forth with the employees as well as manager. Post the letters have been released. That grievance management again is a headache for managers and leaders. But now through the automation, you have given a very clear view and transparent view to the managers and to the leaders who can explain it themselves. So there is no 2 or 3-way communication which is happening across the organization.
Yeah. Super. I think we cover a lot of examples of visions and some sound reasons for automation. Maybe we can continue talking about the total rewards focus, Sachin. So can you move to that slide, and I will hand it over to you.
This slide or
Next one. The next one, please. Yeah, I think that's a good place to continue.
I think
Yes.
we have already touched upon on this point as well, but let me just try to elaborate a little more on this. So when we say plug and play with the total reward elements, and try to create an impact at the bottom line, um, the whole concept of total reward from the beginning itself has been that you have a certain cash elements which most of the people know about, right? Even in some organizations, people don't know about them as well. So one is about explaining and giving the details of how those elements are arrived at. All right. The second part is about the non-cash benefits, which people actually give it to every employee in the organization in a different way, but not actually tend to reflect it, or even they reflect it, they are in fractions. You are giving one letter for, let's say, medical, other letter for probably a life insurance, or maybe a communication, an email is going to employees that we have created a new life insurance policy. Now there's no comprehensive way where an organization can reflect unless they have an automated tool, unless they have all these things placed under one particular umbrella and shown employees into a single screen itself, right? That's one, and that's only a one step probably approach. The second step comes into the total reward when we talk about even showing what has been the growth of an individual from past or since the time the person has joined in the organization till now. That is a very, very, very good value proposition from the company standpoint. Because when you are showing a number upfront, a person who has joined 5 years back earning about 100,000, and now the person has reached to 25 to 250,000 US dollar kind of salary. I mean, it's a great journey for person to reflect. All right. How about the next stage, evolution, where automation can even help you reflecting that what can be your future value. So we have been actually coming across certain requirements from our clients as well, where they have a certain amount of cash elements, they have these benefits, but the LTI value they would like to put in a way that people put some value of the share on the tool itself, and it actually gives them a total reward in the next 5 years. How does it look like? I mean, that's real beauty for an employee to look at, that not only I'm earning about 250,000, but by the end of 5 years, my equity, my cash benefit, my everything will move to almost like a 500,000. That's straight away, you have locked that person for the next 3 to 5 years.
That's great. Yeah, I was talking my financial planner, and that's one of the things is that we're often so focused on our investments and so forth, or our savings, and we fail to realize that our pay is one of there are biggest areas of income generation. I mean, of investing in ourselves. We should track that, or we should be thinking about our pay more as an investment. It's an investment of our time. Where like you said, our journey and where we're going in the future is important to us. Yeah, are we at the right company? Are they going to invest in us appropriately, and in a lot of different factors? I mean, more than just cash, as you mentioned. And so that's excellent.
And I think one thing which happens through the automation, which you can enable, you as the owner of the automation system, you can enable easily, is again, to push the vendor, whoever is using your tool, to activate those things instantly. So when you have a tool which is not agile, and you always have to code and change the code in the back end, that doesn't serve the purpose. If you have chosen the right tool will actually enable you to instantly reflect a new element of a reward which you have introduced probably yesterday itself. All right. In olden times, basically, the process of communication used to take multiple days. First you have a management approval, then you sign a document, then you actually pass on communication to the leadership pass on to the managers, then it goes to the employees. Long process. Today, in a single day itself, once you sign the policy, you can actually upload the information, send out a beautiful communication online through the online tool to all employees in one single go itself. That's one stage. How about a short-term view of the total reward? All right. So you have salespeople who are actually you probably sometimes 80%, sometimes 70% of the organization workforce as well. How about those 70% population? using this total reward statement and trying to predict that if I perform at an X level, what would be my incentive at the end of the quarter. That's again a beautiful view of giving to the employee and trying to create a motivation, trying to create a retention, and creating overall excitement across the organization as well. It's an exciting place actually, to go there and play around. I will perform at probably 120% of my sales target. What would be my incentive? He's already motivated before even he got it. Actually, he's motivated enough to see that money upfront on the screen. That, oh my God, this is my dollar value, which looks like
And
fantastic.
Sachin, one thing is today companies, they have sometimes sophisticated and complex sales incentive plans. So for a sales rep, it is not always easy to understand that or to predict what they can earn if they show a specific performance. So it's also beneficial for the in that perspective. So because it helps them to understand the core of the sales incentive plan, and then they simulate their numbers. So it helps the management, it helps the HR, business excellence, and the sales reps.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
good point.
And speed of change in your policies and processes. That's another part, which can be very much easily manageable. So I'll give you a real-time example. One of our client is into hotel industry business. All right. And you know how COVID has actually impacted the hotel industry. They have almost negligible business in the regions which they operate in. Right now, they are struggling with the sales incentive. So they have small sales which is coming off and on from some regions and so on, but they're struggling with sales incentive. What would be their right fit for the sales incentive scheme? Through the automation, they've been able to evolve the scheme every month, experiment it, and change it next month. Then it is not working well, they change it third month again. Now, without automation, this is not possible at all. You can forget about it. You have a long journey of making a scheme, communicating it, explaining it with difficult formulas and so on, people understanding it, getting motivated. But through automation, you can do it just like this instantly. So those are the things which we probably try to refer to all our listeners who have already automated. Try to push the agenda of automation in a flexible way. Gone are the days when a tool was given to you and you have to live and die with that without any changes. It's not the situation now. I think everybody has to push forward. All right. So I think next slide is about Sanam. Would you like to touch upon on this one?
Sure. And this is about the managers. So managers, they are your enablers. They are your champions. So you need to utilize them. You need to cooperate well with them. And in order to cooperate with them, you need to get their buy-in about the tool. And in order to do that, you need to show the benefits out of automation. So if your clients, in this case, your managers, if they don't know the benefits of the automation, I don't think that they can be your real partners. So to make them their your partners, you need to have a very clear, to the point, targeted communication and, let's say, education plan. So and it takes some time. So we must admit it. It takes some time, because as C&B people, as HR people, you are used to this terminology. You are used to compensation benefits work, but it's not the case for the managers. So you need to be patient, and you need to step by step educate them. And this happens through a proper communication and training plan. And I think after that effort, if they if they believe in the benefit of the tool, they can be your great partners. And once they are your partners, they get the ownership, they feel the accountability, and they will help the rest of the process. They will help you for the rest of the process.
Yeah, so that's one of the biggest barriers that I've witnessed a lot is often when we're talking compensation, just with HR people in general, I mean, there's a degree of discomfort. That's one area in HR that they want to leave to the compensation experts, and then managers are also even more in the dark. And so, and as we mentioned earlier, perhaps this is where comp and benefit professionals need to become more strategic. But how are you seeing a trend in these tools as far as maybe micro learning or brief tutorials that can get a manager up to speed? And what is the best way of doing it? Is it HR interface or training, or what is the best method?
Yeah, so I think most of the companies which actually do an automation, they go through, of course, a small session for the managers. I think in non-COVID situation, it can be a face-to-face. You know, a manager set of about 25 to 30 managers together and giving them a perspective about the overall comp philosophies, what are the reasons why we're doing what we're doing, and then walking them through the system, how the activity or actions work on the system. That's a comprehensive kind of workshop which companies do. To be very frank, I think one thing which we have to and we are also learning probably from the perspective of managers these days when we interact with them, is managers are more keen to know and understand comp and ben formulas than C&D people can even think of. All right, we always thought that whatever we do, they're interested in the letter. No, I think they are much more detail oriented these days. They would like to understand that what this number has arrived at, how it has been arrived from the beginning itself. All right. Once they understand the overall philosophy, now if we as a C&B people always believe that whatever we are doing as a model of a comp and ben salary review or a bonus or everything is absolutely great, right? We always believe that. But that greatness is not reflected ever to the leaders and managers in the same proportion. The more transparent you are going to be, the more detail oriented you are going to be in the beginning, they will appreciate it more. They will actually support your journey of applying formulas, applying those models across the organization, and help you probably pass on the message to the employees as well. That's what my take on this is.
Great, thank you.
And there is one important thing here. We saw some examples, some companies who automated their comp processes, who cascaded the process to the managers, but who didn't give any flexibility to the managers to recommend a percentage of increase or to recommend a bonus amount. So in that scenario, managers, they don't feel good. They feel like the soldiers of the system. So they don't have any capacity or any empowerment to make an impact on the recommendation. So I think so this is something that as HR people we need to think about. So if we are involving them in the process, they should have a word to say in this process.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. On the contrary, when you give too much of leverage to the managers as well, and we know comp and ben professionals why we don't tend to give so much of leverage, so much of flexibility to managers, is because we want to create more appropriate pay ranges. You know, the gap shouldn't be so much between similar looking employees who have same performance, same comparative ratios, and so on. Now, to explain that particular concept of why we are not giving so much of extended flexibility is also important when you're not giving full flexibility. So both ways, it's extremely important how you communicate to the managers, but communicate them in transparent way fully. Don't hide anything, don't keep anything to yourself, as if they are the senior managers now for their team.
That's great. Thank you, Sachin. I know that, and people are probably getting anxious to see your tool and how you solve a lot of these issues. So,
okay. So, how much time we have left, Sam?
I'm sorry. What's that?
What's the time we have left with? So we have a couple of more slides. Shall we go through, or shall we just?
Oh yeah. So we have a few more minutes. So before the top of the hour, we can go through a few more of your slides, and then and we should transfer to the demo at the top of the hour.
Definitely. I think the communication, so this message is probably in conjunction with the previous slide, wherein what we're trying to probably say is that once you have automated as C&B team, as individuals of the owner of the process, I don't think for smaller team is possible to cascade that journey throughout the organization. Now, what you have to do is you have to create your messages, right? You have to create those particular managers who are very much interested. You have to create those HR BPs who are very much interested in communicating these particular methods, these automation journeys to their managers, to the leaders appropriately, and use them. So that's the automation journey. You don't have to spend enough time the way you were spending earlier in communicating all the messages by yourself. So that's the key message which we are trying to reflect through this particular slide. Um, in terms of speed, we have already spoken about that once you have launched the tool, how it's going to help you in terms of bringing the efficiencies and so on. Uh, don't stop and don't settle for what you have got from the beginning. I've been probably repeating that message probably for the last 15-20 minutes over and over again, but this is a very critical message. If you buy a tool and you are satisfied with that and you sit on that for even a couple of years, it is not going to be creating an attraction, not going to be an attractive proposition for the managers to use it. Create more and more functionalities, create more features, create attractiveness on the tool so that more users actually come on board and they start using it. Another thing, another way of handling that attraction is also to interconnect various processes. So you say that my payroll cannot run until I complete a particular process on a particular compensation tool. My performance management cannot go forward unless my compensation cannot go forward unless I complete a performance management. So interlinking these various tools and processes into one string, one by one, is extremely important. And if you have to do it, you have to do it quickly and you have to do it consistently. Don't stop and don't settle for something which has been given to you by
Yeah.
external vendor.
One thing on this, we were talking about there's been real-time performance and real-time feedback, and now there's some thought of even real-time compensation. I imagine sometime in the future we're going to be thinking, what, I had to wait 2 weeks to get paid is going to be an afterthought. So it's, yeah, things are changing faster the better.
Absolutely. How leadership buying? I think leadership has actually given you the right to buy an automation tool and you launched it successfully. It's great, right? After a while, if you are spending about 25,000, 50,000 US dollar on running a tool every year, leadership will start asking, what's the return on investment? Now that return on investment is extremely important for the management to keep spending that money year on year, right? And you can show it through the efficiency, which is equal to your cost savings straight away, right? You are actually reducing the time for yourself, for the leaders and for managers to spend on these component processes, and that time is being utilized to run the business very well, right? That's a clear saving for the cost itself for the business. Intelligence, you are actually allowing your leaders and managers to make much better decision, much deeper understanding of what decision they are making and what can be possible impact. As I mentioned about the AI and machine learning, in future you will quickly start seeing that not only actually I am taking a decision, but before I even take a decision, I can see the impact of it, what possible impact it can make. So reflecting those kind of features, functionalities, and outcomes is extremely important for the management. Empowerment is equal to engagement. When you are empowering managers, they are going to feel happy about it. They are going to feel more powerful to take a decision. They feel in control. And I think all those things are going to lead to a better engagement at the manager and leadership level. That you have to reflect those particular features. Sometime it can be reflected through the feedback mechanism, a very simple feedback mechanism. You run a survey after the comp process and you get to know that how managers are feeling about taking the decision for their team member about salary review, about bonus allocation, about equity allocation, and so on. And you will get a feeling very clearly. There's no way that if the process is right, if the philosophy is right, of course the outcome will be better. So it has to be in conjunction with what you're doing and how you're doing both of it, right? And at the end, it's a productivity. Once you are actually looking at the last mile benefit of automation, it's basically about how you're going to improve the sales performance, for example. So we gave some examples about how you can reflect the motivational, screens for these salespeople who can even see before the end of the month or a quarter, what would be my incentive. Now, as I said in the example, that if I'm going to put 120% performance, what would be my incentive? Believe me or not, the moment people actually get to know that dollar value, the performance will not stop at 120. The performance will actually go beyond that. Because now they know that what dollar value they are going to earn, they will push themselves even harder to get better than 120. So that's the kind of productivity impact which you can see, and that can be done on both sales as well as non-sales people through the automation analysis. Sanam, anything you would like to add?
Oh, great, Sachin. Please carry on. I think we have one last slide.
Slide, and just to add this, right? And I think everybody loves the future. Everybody talks about the future, but sometimes it can look scary. But one belief which we have actually, we are now deep into this automation business, and I can tell you that when a vendor will tell you this is not impossible, it is wrong. In automation, in machine learning, in AI, everything is possible. You just dream of something which you are looking forward to, and you have to push those automation vendors, and you get it. And if they cannot get it, I think you are probably in the wrong place. That's what I would say.
I think we're losing your feed there, Sachin. Starting to sound like a robot.
Yeah, I think it's at the right time. While we were talking about AI, machine learning, you sounded like a robot, Sachin.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you hear us, Sachin?
Yeah, I think it's freezing up a little bit. I think we lost you, Sachin.
Yeah. Okay, he's freezing up. I think he's back right now. Okay. Good, super. I think the message is clear, and thanks to SaaS market, there are lots of opportunities right now. And as organizations, as HR people, we can demand as much as we want. It's an endless journey, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
Did you want to, take over and do the demo of Compport?
Yeah. Sachin is going to do the demo right now, if he's with us right now. Okay, just...
I think he's frozen again.
Okay, because he made a special preparation for you.
Okay.
So...
yeah, hopefully the modern communication technology will come through.
Sometimes it happens. But I'm sure he will find a way to come back.
Okay.
In between, if you like, we can... Yeah, he's joining back again.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, so the AI discussion, I mean, there's a lot of excitement around that, because I mean, we're thinking about, and that's another reason why comp professionals need more strategic. I mean, if we don't start thinking ahead, I mean, we're going to have tools that are going to, could potentially do a lot of what we're doing today, and it's going to make sense to up our game and become more strategic. So, yeah, it's very important that we start looking at these tools and thinking of how the best way to interface with them and make recommendations and increase the value to the organization. So.
And some time to time we're meeting with different tech companies in different areas. And even though we are in tech area, when we see different examples, we feel amazed, because technology is endless. So many new things are happening in the area. So I suggest everyone always to keep their eyes, ears open to these developments. So many things are happening out there.
Right.
Yeah.
You think about the different facets of how we do work today. I mean, there's gig workers, contractors, which are making up a larger and larger percentage of the organization, and along with employees. And we're thinking about other ways of paying. I mean, as far as competencies and skill-based pay, and working on different projects and project teams and so forth. The management structure and the organizational structure is being challenged. And so it's a lot of good reasons why we need to be more agile and adaptive to in the future.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So,
Well, I'll see if he can join us. You can, maybe I'll, if you give him a minute or two. Let me just check my.
and let me check by phone. Just give me 1 second, please.
Sure.
Yeah. And hopefully he can join back. Oh.
There he comes.
So I'm glad we were able to bring in that ROI piece because, and I know that was something that Vinit mentioned in the Q&A. Brought a lot of good points. Hey, Sachin.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what happened actually. My computer is still plugged in with the power cord and it just went off.
Oh. Okay.
All right, I'm going to just dive into the system straight away.
Great.
Okay, it's running slow. Not sure.
And we're currently staring at one of the greatest benefits of just having a secure login instead of going into just an unsecure spreadsheet. So.
Very much, absolutely. All right, so folks, this is the system basically which allows organization to run any kind of comp processes, fully integratable. So if you have an HRIS, for example, it can be integrated with this HRIS and bring in all the employee demographic information straight away upfront. You don't have to maintain it in two systems. You can still maintain changes if you would like to in comp as well. When you come to compensation plan, the compensation plan actually allows you to design, develop, launch to the managers all these kind of plans, which are namely salary review, and it can be a merit salary review plan, or it can be an ad hoc salary review changes as well during the year. You can run a bonus plan, a variable pay or a bonus plan for the non-sales, or run a sales incentive plan for the sales force. You can actually run any of the long-term incentive plans, be it a cash incentive, PSP, ESOP, phantom share, whatsoever you call it. You can design, develop very easily in few minutes and just launch it. Even for the allocation purpose, you can launch it to the leadership team or to the managers, where they can be giving those allocation of LTIs to the employees, and then employees can get a digital communication. And then the R&R, which is more to do with some sort of ad hoc reward systems. Companies do actually try to motivate workforce with some sort of gift vouchers, probably for living the values or living the competencies or so on. So those kind of things can be managed easily on the tool. When it comes to the design of the solution, let's say a salary review plan, it is just a 5 minutes job as compared to a very long journey of simulating your annual merit plan, for example. It takes only 5 minutes on the system to design and develop in just simple 4 steps with a pre-embedded formulas, pre-embedded questions, and it's as simple that even a non-competent person in your team can actually do a simulation of a compensation plan on the tool. It allows you to actually drill down to various rules which you have been designed in your Excel file. Gives you choosing different kind of models, whether it's a distance model or a quartile model of a compensation. Allows you to give how much flexibility you want to give to the managers. Allows you to even manage the promotion process along with it in the same cycle itself. Then gives you an idea of about how much increment grid would you like to build, both for the merit increases or for the salary correction which you would like to propose to various category of employees. And then at the end, it instantly gives you a look at the budget in detail of each of the team managers itself. And then of course, budget management can be flexible. You can allocate the budgets in a very different way to each of the managers as per your choice, or you can do a standardized budget by choosing one single number to all the managers, whatsoever you would like to do. Once you actually do this model, it instantly gives you also a rule specific analytics. You can check out what would be my average to minimum to maximum increases by different categories. For example, if I click on this simple report, it gives you a multi-dimensional view of your increment distribution so that you can check whether it's being distributed equally and fairly all across the different segment of an organization, like a division, grade, cluster, level, function, even gender, performance rating. So you can get a straightaway upfront view even without launching your solution to the managers and workforce, and check out which is the best model. Well, how about comparing the models? So when we actually went to the screen, which is the previous one, that rule creation actually allows you the flexibility to build multiple rules. So I have created, let's say in this example, a single rule. Now, how about you create same 487 people into 4 different type of rules. So you choose different dynamics. In one model, I would like to choose probably 10% budget with a distance model. In other one, I would like to choose 8% budget with a quartile model, and then compare which is going to create the best outcome or impact on the population. And how do you check the impact? You can check the impact by simply understanding what would be my population distribution pre and post on the comparative ratio. So if I'm using a simple comparative ratio model, my single KPI of an effective model would be that how people are moving from less than comparative ratio of 75 to 75 to 100 comparison. So this particular graph you pre and post analysis upfront again by different segment of the organization, and trying to show you that what else you can actually look into in terms of improving your model. Once you do that, it actually allows you to launch this tool, and this is how it will look like to the managers. And manager's screen, which you want to display, is also completely flexible. You can actually display limited information, a lot of information the way you want, as per your choice. So let me launch a manager. So I'm proxying as one of the manager right now and going inside the manager screen. This is how very simple manager screen will look like. This manager has also been given a role of an HR BP. So now you can see there are 3 roles this manager is playing. He's an HR BP as well. He's a team manager, and there is a myself tab. So very simple screen where they can go into each of the section and start checking. So let's look at my team. There are various plans which are embedded. Managers can actually switch from one plan to other plan from here, or they can switch from the employee screen as well. So once we go deeper into the salary and promotion plan, and I'm looking at my team, for example, in this screen, I can actually switch. If I have a separate plan which is a bonus, I have a tab where I can switch from one employee to other one plan to other plan for the same employee. For example, if I go here, let me see if I plan. Yes. So you can see this tab. If I want to check what's my variable pay for this employee, I can simply click on this variable pay and switch and check. Well, this is my salary view, this is my variable pay, this is my LTI. From the same screen, I can keep switching and keep checking out. Now, managers also has the flexibility to not only actually do the actual correction for the employees, but also you can give the whole baton of budget management in their hand itself. Taking an example, if you have a national sales head and you don't want to get bothered about how much budget I should be distributing to each of the district managers to the hierarchy, you can simply give a total budget to the national sales head and let them distribute the budget to their own managers. How they can do that? A very simple method of credit and debit. So system will actually allocate some budget based on the formulas, designs which you have done, but a top level manager has a credit and a debit option. So I want to actually reduce this by, let's say, give additional budget of 100,000 to this manager, and I want to debit another 100,000 to this manager. This way, you are not only actually taking away your pain of actually looking at the budgets changes which are happening, but also empowering your managers that you are the budget owner. You decide how you want to distribute. I have given you at the top of the level budget. It's now your game. You can play it the way you want. when the managers will look at this whole hierarchy, they can not only change their direct reports salary review, which is happening here, so they can make changes into merit, promotion, they can recommend some market correction, look at what would be the outcome for each of the employees and what would be my new comparative ratio after I've given the increase. But they can also do that same exercise for the hierarchy all the way below. And these particular view which you are looking at right now, they're 100% configurable. You don't have to live with it. That's the beauty of it actually. Some organization wants to give a very elaborated view. Some organization wants to give simpler view. It's completely your choice how you want to reflect it. The tool is also all the plans which is about bonus or LTI works in the same way. The tool is very well supported with a lot of analytics. So there are core analytics about headcount growth, turnover, and of course there's a comp plan related analytics which is given, but also it dives into something related to cost and productivity report. Now this is like a beautiful report which in one single screenshot can tell you that by different countries. So let's take an example, you have a 6-country operation and you want to check what's my revenue per FTE for different country, what's my profit per FTE, and what's my total cost per FTE. And I can see it the moment I start building this data. I can see the trend over the past 6 months, past 12 months, past 3 years, and understand how my productivity is improving, or if it is not improving, what are the gap areas. And I can deep dive into it to create some action plans. The beauty of analytics also, as I mentioned in the presentation, is not only that it's limited to you to view. The beauty is when you start cascading these reports to your leadership and to your managers. Now on single click of a button, I can cascade this analytics, the whole report, to every manager across the organization. A single button I need to click. That's the beauty of automation. And I think once you do that, you might actually get a lot of queries that how these numbers are reflecting, how this analytics is. One way is that we will have, of course, on the tool always have some sort of tutorials, right? Some sort of tutorials, some sort of demos, always available. More important is, in the beginning, your journey will be a bit difficult to answer those questions. Don't be afraid with that, because once you've explained it, the journey will be much more smoother in the time to come. And I think that's what my suggestion would be to all the people who have automated. Spend more time launching, educating managers, rather than holding on the information to yourself. It deep dive into diversity inclusion, which is gender based currently, but the tool can also explain and deep dive into different type of diversity inclusion data as well. And then the talent reports, which are becoming very critical. So we have seen some market practices which are going much more deeper into compensation planning. So gone are the days when people used to give salary increase based on the performance rating and compa ratio. Now people are actually using multiple methods of actually looking at. They are building separate rules for, let's say, top talent versus the middle talent. They are using separate tool for my successors who have been identified, and they are in the journey to become a future leader for my company. By uploading this information, by integrating this information, running analytics, I can reflect that information to the managers so that when they're making a decision, they will actually be able to make a better decision for those specific critical talent, critical position holder in a much more better way. How about the future of it? The future of it would be the more information you will embed into the tool, system will be able to evolve the recommendation to the managers on its own. So that's the beauty of the AI and machine learning in future. So any tool which is creating the data over the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that data actually helps the AI and machine learning to understand the trend and pattern, how organizations are behaving, how managers are behaving, what should be the ideal stage for an organization to move into this stage. It will evolve and it will recommend great analytics and inputs to the managers and leaders, which will make your life much more easier and better, and make them happy as well. I think that's the summary. Sanam, anything would you like to add here for the solution?
No, just very impressed. A very, very powerful system. So I'm glad that you took time to show us. It's very exciting. Thank you so much. And obviously you have I was looking at the chat. You have some fans. So that's great. Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Well, so if anybody on the line or would like to get your own demo or something individually, just go ahead and reach out to Sachin. Do you want to put your contact information in the chat for anybody that would like to reach out to you?
Definitely.
And that might be helpful. Then because I know everybody's looking for their own unique needs. I mean, there's a lot of capability here, and it may be more than what some companies are looking to start out with. I imagine you can have a basic view and have people grow into this as they go. I imagine. So a lot of interesting things here. This is beautiful too, and I just love the colors and the interface.
And Sam, we do have 2 questions. Are we able to unmute
Yes.
our participants, or?
Absolutely, and we can. I can unmute, or we can put the questions through chat.
Okay.
So here, let's see. We have a questions from Vidant. So
Yeah.
go
So
ahead.
here's
One
a
question.
couple questions coming through chat. Can the tool recommend position on salary range,
That is correct. It can.
bias? Yeah, performance ratings, tenure, and critical of talent.
It can, yes.
Yeah.
And then was there so the criticality of talent and so forth? Was there another question there? Or was that, did you get them both there, Heather?
I believe those are both.
Okay, great. Anybody else have any other questions?
As I said, probably from the beginning itself, I think tool which is only focusing on what you're doing right now is not going to be the right tool. The tool has to evolve with your thinking and actually evolve your thinking itself. How you can utilize multiple parameters to build your model. That's a real good tool, and that's what yes, Compport can do that, and I'm sure you can probably get a demo if you would.
The beauty, as you say, is you have all the data in one place, and you can synthesize it and do various analyses and what ifs and pro formas, and so it's a very, very powerful tool.
Yeah. And then, Surin, we have one more question. Can a manager pull in a specific data dashboard onto a single page to see collected comparisons?
Yeah, can a manager create their own dashboard, I guess?
Yeah.
No, so we don't have a self dashboard creation functionality as of now. At future stage, we have a next version which is going to come probably 6 months down the line. We will have that, but as of now, no. But if you're talking about the team recommendation and what kind of inputs which they have given, yes, I think in most of the screens for the managers and HR, you will also see a tab which can be downloadable. So you can actually download the analysis by Excel, by PPT, or by PDF version as well.
And I would assume that if an organization identifies specific dashboards they want to see and have managers see, that's something you can construct.
That is correct. So these analytics which I showed during the demo, all of these reports can be visible to every manager who has one or more reporting in as much detail as you are looking at right now. And not only that, the future stage of the analytics would be in Compport specifically that will provide even managers to play around with the data, and they can create their own outcomes of the reports of analytical in the analytical form.
Great.
And if there is a need to export to Excel, I would assume that's that's pretty easy, and at least you're pulling in uniform data.
Definitely. I think one thing which we couldn't get away is that while we started building and started promoting Compport, we realized that every organization which wants to have an automation, they always ultimately say, "Oh, can I also do it in Excel?"
Yeah.
Away probably for many years to come, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So yes, I think recommendation or analytics, anything you name it, you can actually pull down, put the recommendation in Excel. So if you have a large team of 100 people, for example, reporting to you, you can easily actually upload your recommendation on Excel file and get away with that as well, and then keep playing with the system online if you would like.
Then, Shirin, we have one more question. What logic is used to recommend position and range using Compport?
Sorry, can you repeat that again? What? Logic.
Oh, what logic is used to recommend a position in range using Compport?
We don't use, so system doesn't provide any logic to you. You build the logic itself. So you say that my positioning in the range should be median or 75th percentile, maybe differentiated by different performance, maybe differentiated by different grades or level or criticality of talent. You define what is your positioning, and system will actually do an analysis and outcome instantly for that.
Such as a Compport ratio or range penetration, those type of things.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yep.
All those models are pre-embedded, so but you have to choose that model. So why we do that? Because it's a SaaS model. Now, while it's a SaaS model, we still want to serve the purpose for many organizations. But whatever we learn from a different model or a different feature or functionality, we build that as one of the configurable options within the tool. But it's still available for all the organizations which are using the tool. So that's the beauty. It's continuously evolving from that standpoint.
Yeah, that makes sense because, companies differ in their approaches and in their strategies. So you need to build in that flexibility when designing a system.
Absolutely. I think it's a commitment from our side. Our vision was never to constrain users to live with something which we are imposing on to them.
Right.
We want to build a system what they are comfortable with.
That's a good motto. Yep. Because everybody, a lot of companies out there, they do comp differently, and so the flexibility is the key.
Absolutely.
Great.
I think the unique proposition which we sell along with the tool is that once a tool is onboarded in an organization, the customization is on us. We don't actually, keep sending a new bill for every small or big customization which customers are looking forward to. I think the dynamic changes which are happening in the market, in the scenarios of the companies, comm models, analytics is a given fact. As you say, change is the new normal.
Yeah.
So that normal is already embedded in our proposition that we will actually continue to evolve the model for ourselves and for you as well together.
Great. Well, thank you, Sachin and Saneem. This has been a great presentation. I really enjoyed the discussion and having the opportunity to see the tool. And so thank you so very much.
You're welcome. And thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Yes.
And to Howard, Sam, and Heather for inviting us on this webinar. Look forward to meeting you again and again.
Yes. Great.
And
Thank
thanks
you both.
to all the audience who are with us today. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Well, we'll see you guys next time. So, and Sachin and Saneem, we'll see you around. And thank you so much once again. And so everybody have a great, wonderful day.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
So much.
All right.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.